It started with a phone call on a rainy Thursday in March, around 2:14 p.m. I remember because I was halfway through baking banana bread, the kind with walnuts and brown butter, when my phone buzzed and I saw my son's name on the screen. Ethan. I still had the little heart next to his name. Back then, I still believed he loved me the way I loved him. He sounded nervous, but sweet. "Hey, Mom, got a minute?" That tone always meant he needed something. Money, advice, reassurance, or all three. This time it was money. A lot of it. He'd been working on some new tech platform with his old college roommate. "It's like Uber, but for freelancers," he explained. I didn't fully understand, but I listened. I always listened. That's what mothers do, isn't it? Listen, even when it's inconvenient. Believe, even when it's absurd. They'd already pitched to 3 angel investors, he said. They just needed $140,000 more to get their first version out and hire a small team. And they needed it within the month. "It's just a bridge," Ethan said. "You'll get it back, Mom. With equity. You'll be an investor." I wish I could say I hesitated, but Ethan was my only child. I raised him alone after his father left, worked double shifts at the library, skipped vacations, cooked at home every day. I once spent 4 years without buying myself a new winter coat just so he could attend that private middle school in Walnut Hill. Tuition was $1,150 a month. I remember every check I wrote. So when he said he needed help to make something of himself, I transferred the money the next morning. $140,000 from my retirement account. It was practically everything I had saved since I turned 40. He texted me a heart emoji and a line that made me cry at the time. "I wouldn't be here without you, Mom." The startup launched 3 months later. I didn't understand a word of the platform, but thou says. A website looked sleek, and the Instagram page had those glossy, staged photos that make everything seem legitimate. Ethan even did a podcast interview about innovating human connection through tech. I listened to it twice. Then came the wedding. He married Camille, that was her name, in a vineyard in Sonoma. Elegant, minimal, expensive. I wasn't invited to help plan. I wasn't asked to give a speech. In fact, they asked if I could wear a neutral dress and avoid reds or metallics. Camille's mother wore blush pink and diamond earrings that caught every glint of sunlight. I wore a beige dress from Macy's that cost $89. I still have it, though I can't look at it without feeling nauseous. They moved into a townhouse in Palo Alto after the wedding. Rent, $4,800 a month, not counting utilities. I only knew that because I peeked at the Zillow listing. Ethan said the company was paying for it, but I knew better. My money was paying for it. Still, I kept quiet. I cooked them dinner once a week, drove 45 minutes each way with containers of lentil soup, roasted chicken, and Ethan's favorite chocolate chip cookies. Camille never ate. She said she was gluten sensitive, but I saw the Whole Foods bags in the trash. Sourdough, pasta, frozen croissants. I began to feel tolerated, not welcomed. Camille once corrected how I was folding their baby clothes. "That's not how we do it," she said, smiling tightly. "We." As if I wasn't part of that we anymore. Maybe I never was. Then the baby announcement came. A glossy card in the mail. "Baby Monroe coming this fall." There was a QR code on the back that linked to their baby registry. $400 strollers, $90 burp cloths, a bassinet that cost more than my monthly Social Security check. I was thrilled, though. I cried when I saw the ultrasound photo. I imagined holding that baby, teaching her how to read, slipping her crisp doll, our bills for ice cream. I even started crocheting a blanket in pale lavender. Took me 3 weeks to finish. I called Ethan that night. He didn't pick up. I left a voicemail. "Let me know when the baby shower is. I'll bring deviled eggs and the lemon bars Camille liked." 3 days passed. No response. Then I checked Camille's Instagram. I was blocked. Her account, once public, now showed nothing. Ethan's too. And then I noticed something strange. The baby registry link no longer worked. I typed it in manually. "This registry is private." I tried calling again. Straight to voicemail. Finally, after 2 weeks, Ethan texted me. "Hey Mom, Camille and I decided to keep the shower small, just immediate friends. Hope you understand." Immediate friends, not family. I stared at the text for a long time. Then I typed, Am I not family anymore? No reply. I told myself maybe they were just overwhelmed. Pregnancy hormones, stress. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe Camille misunderstood something I'd done. I asked myself that night. Replayed every moment from the last few months. The casserole I made that gave her indigestion? The time I asked if they could reimburse me for the rug shampooer after the baby's gender reveal party left pink dye in my carpet? Then came the final insult. I got a message from my cousin in Oakland. She had been invited to the shower. A catered brunch with a live harpist, personalized macarons, a champagne wall. The whole event was posted on Facebook, where Camille apparently forgot to block me. There she stood in front of a giant floral arch, holding her belly, smiling. Ethan next to her in a linen shirt. Around them, 25 women I didn't know. Not one of them was me. And there, in the background, I spotted it, my lavender blanket, draped over a chair like a prop. That was when something inside me shifted. I had spent $140,000 to fund their dream, and they blocked me from their baby shower like I was an embarrassment, an afterthought. But I wasn't an afterthought, and I wasn't done. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan, watching the blades slice the air, over and over, like a pendulum counting down. Time I would never get back, money I would never see again. A child I barely recognized anymore. By morning, I had made 2 decisions. First, I would not chase Ethan or Camille again. No more texts, no more voicemails, no more casseroles. I had offered them everything. My money, my time, my dignity, and they'd repaid me with polite erasure. Second, I would protect what little I had left. I went to my safe deposit box that afternoon. Inside were my divorce papers, my parents' wedding rings, and the file folder I'd used when I transferred the $140,000 to Ethan's account. I opened it. Inside were the wire instructions, the confirmation slip from the bank, and a typed letter I'd drafted, not legal, just a mother's hope, outlining that the money was an investment, not a gift. I'd printed it with shaking hands back in March. Ethan had signed it. In the event of failure or sale, I will repay the $140,000 with 5% annual interest. Camille had witnessed it. She'd even joked, "You better not screw over your mom, babe." I remember laughing. Now that signature burned in my mind like a brand. The baby, Monroe, was born in October. I found out from a mutual friend of Camille's, a former co-worker who didn't know she was supposed to block me too. She sent me a screenshot of the baby announcement posted on Facebook. Our perfect little girl arrived on 10/17, 6 psalms, 11 ahs of pure joy. Welcome to the world, Monroe Elise. No mention of grandparents, no mention of me. I stared at the photo. Camille in a hospital bed, Ethan beside her holding the baby, swaddled in pink. I saved the picture, then deleted it, then saved it again, just in case. I thought about mailing a gift. A silver rattle, maybe. Then I remembered what Camille did with my blanket, used it for decoration, not warmth. That was all I was to them now. A prop, so I waited. I waited through Thanksgiving, when they posted matching flannel pajamas. I waited through Christmas, when I spent the holiday alone with a bottle of Pinot Noir and the same $89 beige dress folded on the back of a chair, like a ghost of someone forgotten. By January, I had learned something important. Ethan's startup wasn't doing well. The signs were subtle at first, fewer Instagram updates, no more staged office photos or startup memes. The podcast they were on hadn't posted new episodes in months. Then I saw a post from Ethan's co-founder, Darren. He'd updated his LinkedIn to open to work. I felt a pang of shameful satisfaction. That same week, I made a quiet appointment with a lawyer. Her name was Angela Eng. Sharp, calm, and patient. I explained everything, handed her the file folder, and waited as she flipped through the papers with meticulous fingers. "Technically," she said, "this can be pursued, but it will cause damage." I looked her in the eye and said, "I think the damage has already been done." Angela filed the paperwork within 2 weeks. I didn't tell Ethan. I didn't warn him. Let them be surprised, the same way I was when I found out I wasn't welcome in my own grandchild's life. By February, they were served. I wish I could have seen Camille's face when the envelope hit their doorstep. I imagined her manicure trembling as she opened it. I imagined Ethan's confusion turning to fury, then to fear. I was suing my son for breach of contract. They didn't call me, not right away, but I saw the passive-aggressive posts start to appear. Camille on Facebook. Family is supposed to love unconditionally, not throw lawsuits when things get hard. Then on Twitter. Reminder. Blood doesn't always mean loyalty. I didn't respond. I let silence be my answer. Then, one evening in March, a full year after he'd asked for the money, my phone rang. It was Ethan. I let it go to voicemail. He left one. Mom, are you serious right now? You're taking me to court? Over an investment? We're your family. You don't sue family. I replayed that voicemail twice, maybe 3 times. Then I saved it. The next day, Camille called. Her voice was colder. You're destroying our lives over a favor, I said. A favor would be lending someone your car. This was my life savings. There was a pause. Then she said something that hardened me in ways I didn't know were possible. Well, maybe if you had planned better, you wouldn't be so dependent now. It wasn't just the words. It was the tone, the smugness, the implication that I was some desperate, pathetic old woman who should be grateful for crumbs of inclusion. I hung up without a word. The court date was set for April 18th. Ethan filed a motion to dismiss, claimed it was a family matter, not a contractual dispute. Angela countered with the signed agreement, the bank records, and 3 years' worth of text messages showing our financial discussions. She even printed out Camille's baby shower posts, not because they were relevant, but because I wanted the judge to see what kind of people they were. The dismissal was denied. That night, I poured myself a small glass of port and toasted the silence. But then, 2 days before the hearing, something unexpected happened. Ethan showed up at my door. He hadn't been to my house in over a year. He looked tired, thinner, grayer at the temples, like the weight of pretending had finally caught up to him. He stood on my porch holding something small in a gift bag. I brought Monroe to meet you, he said quietly. He held the baby like he was cradling his last chance at redemption. Monroe looked nothing like Camille. She had Ethan's eyes, that same deep-set hazel that used to light up whenever I'd pick him up from kindergarten. Her nose was rounder, cheeks full and pink. She looked up at me, this little stranger I'd dreamed of holding, and didn't cry. She just blinked, calm as a monk. I didn't invite him in right away. I stood in the doorway in my robe, my coffee half full, heart even emptier. Camille doesn't know I'm here, Ethan said. She's at her mom's. I studied his face. He hadn't shaved. There was a faint bruise under one eye. Maybe from lack of sleep, or maybe something worse. Why now? I asked him. He shifted his weight and looked down. Because I miss you. I didn't reply. He handed me the gift bag like it would soften me. Inside was a small photo album. Printed pictures of Monroe's first 6 months. There was one of her in a pumpkin hat, another wrapped in Christmas lights, and a third, asleep on that same lavender blanket I had made. A trap, I thought. A guilt offering. But I couldn't deny the way my arms itched to hold her. May I asked, motioning toward the baby. Ethan nodded. The moment she settled into my arms, something hot and wet rose behind my eyes. She was heavier than I'd imagined. Real, warm, mine, in some ancient, blood-deep way. She likes music, Ethan said quietly. I play her that old Simon Garfunkel song you used to sing. I swallowed hard. April come she will? He nodded. For a moment, we were 2 people who remembered the same lullaby. But the silence afterward felt loaded. You're still going through with the lawsuit? He asked gently. I looked at him and said, yes. He exhaled, like a balloon slowly deflating. Mom, we're broke. I haven't paid rent in 2 months. The company's dead. Camille's maxed out both of our credit cards. I didn't flinch. You had $140,000, and we used it to build something real. It just didn't work. No, I corrected. You didn't work. You stopped calling. You blocked me. You let her shut me out like some ex-nanny who overstepped. His jaw tightened. You don't understand how things have been. No, I said, with more venom than I meant, because you didn't let me. He put a hand on Monroe's tiny leg. She kicked and cooed softly. Can we work something out? He asked. A payment plan? Something that won't bankrupt us? You already did bankrupt me, I said. This isn't just about money, Ethan. It's about respect. You wanted to be treated like a businessman, so now you are. He stood slowly. Then I guess I'll see you in court. Leave the album, I said, as he reached for it. He hesitated, then let it go. 2 days later, we sat across from each other in a windowless courtroom with beige walls and a judge who looked like she hadn't smiled since 1992. Angela handled everything with the quiet fury of a woman who'd seen it all before. Camille was there, of course, all high ponytail and passive aggression, wearing a beige blazer that looked suspiciously like the one I wore to their wedding. Ironic. They tried to argue that the money was a gift. Angela produced the document, the signature, the texts. The judge raised an eyebrow. Then Camille made a mistake. She spoke out of turn. Your Honor, if I may, his mother is emotionally manipulative. She's trying to punish us because I set healthy boundaries. The judge blinked. This is a financial dispute, not a family therapy session. Ethan kept his eyes down. Didn't say a word. Maybe out of guilt. Maybe because for the first time he realized Camille was digging their grave deeper. The judge didn't take long. Her ruling was clear. The $140,000 was a loan, enforceable under civil contract law. Ethan was to begin repaying in monthly installments, $1,750 a month, starting June 1st, interest included. It would take him over 8 years to repay it. I didn't smile. I didn't even look at him. When I got home that night, the house felt still. The photo album was on my kitchen table. I opened it again, tracing Monroe's face with my fingertip. Somewhere she was crying, or laughing, or sleeping, and I wasn't there. I won the case, but I didn't feel like a winner. That's the thing about revenge. It burns through you, too. I thought Ethan would stop speaking to me forever, but a week later, I got a letter in the mail. A real letter. Postmarked, handwritten. I hadn't seen Ethan's handwriting since his high school thank you notes. Dear Mom, I don't know if you'll read this. Camille says you're beyond reasoning with, but I think you did what you felt you had to do. And maybe I deserved it. Things aren't good. We're moving out of the townhouse. I got a job delivering for Instacart, just to stay afloat. Camille's angry all the time. Monroe cries constantly. I don't sleep, but I'm starting to understand something. You didn't just give me money, you gave me belief. And I threw that away. I don't blame you for anything. I miss you. I sat with that letter in my lap for a long time. Then I opened my checkbook. I wrote a check for $1,750, the amount due for June. In the memo, I wrote, paid. I never mailed it, but I wanted him to know I could have. The next time I saw Monroe, it was late July. Ethan came alone. Said Camille was in Tahoe with her mother. He didn't explain why he wasn't with them, and I didn't ask. He sat at my kitchen table while Monroe gummed a soft toy. I'll pay you back, he said. Every last dollar. But I'm also going to fix this. Not just the money. Us. I looked at him. Really looked. And saw my little boy again. The one who used to fall asleep on my chest during thunderstorms. You're not the only one who needs to fix things, I said. And I meant it. But Camille had other plans. Because 1 week later, I got an email from her lawyer. She was suing me for grandparental interference. The subject line was simple. Almost clinical. Notice of legal action, custodial boundaries, and grandparental interference. I read the email 3 times before it fully sank in. Camille, not Ethan, not even through him, had retained a separate attorney to file a formal complaint against me. The contents were just as cold. Our client, Camille West, is seeking to establish formal boundaries due to repeated, unapproved contact with her child and persistent efforts to insert herself in matters concerning Monroe West, despite prior requests for space and limited involvement. Involvement, that's what she called it. There was a line toward the bottom that made my hands tremble. Pending judicial review, access to Monroe, Elise West may be limited or revoked at the mother's discretion with the court's endorsement. I stood in my kitchen holding that printed email, my knuckles white around the paper. My stomach flipped, my mouth went dry. I'd been cast not just as an inconvenience, but as a threat. I didn't cry, not at first. I opened my drawer, pulled out the photo album Ethan had brought weeks earlier, and flipped through the pictures with numb fingers. There she was, Monroe, drooling on my blanket, smiling at something just outside the frame, a baby who knew nothing about bitterness or legal documents or betrayal. And yet, she was being weaponized. I called Angela. She picked up on the second ring. "We'll file a response," she said calmly. "Don't panic. This is posturing." I appreciated her logic, but this wasn't logic to me. This was personal. This was Camille twisting the knife just a little deeper. "She's doing this to get revenge," I said, "because of the lawsuit." "Of course she is," Angela replied, "but the court sees through that. If you've done nothing illegal or abusive, they can't take visitation away, not unless Ethan agrees." And that's when I realized something terrifying. Camille didn't need to win in court. She just needed Ethan to give up. I didn't hear from him for 5 days. No texts, no updates, no photos. When I finally did, it was a single sentence. "Camille says we need to take a break from you. No, I'm sorry. No, I'll fix this." Just a quiet surrender. It crushed me more than any courtroom ruling ever could. For weeks, I moved through life like a ghost. I kept busy, repainted the hallway, cleaned out the attic, baked things I didn't eat. I donated 2 bags of baby supplies I had bought on impulse, onesies, bibs, a stuffed giraffe I'd imagined placing in Monroe's crib one day. Then came August, my birthday. No card, no call, no Ethan. I sat in the garden that evening with a cup of tea and watched the sun go down behind the fence, thinking how odd it was that the person who made you a mother could one day make you feel completely childless. That night, I made a decision. If they wanted distance, they would get it, but not just physical, financial, legal, permanent. 2 days later, I called Angela again. "I want to amend the repayment agreement," I told her. "How so?" "I want a lien against any future income Ethan earns above $50,000 a year until the debt is repaid. I want it formalized and public." She hesitated. "That's aggressive." "So is suing a grandmother." We filed the paperwork the next morning. A lien is a quiet, ruthless thing. It doesn't scream. It waits. It attaches itself like a shadow and follows you into every bank, every mortgage application, every tax return. It says you owe someone something real. When Ethan found out, I expected an explosion. But what I got was worse. Nothing. No calls, no angry texts, just silence. It was Camille who finally broke it. She showed up, unannounced, on my porch one rainy Thursday. Almost a year to the day from when it all started. She wore sunglasses, though the sky was gray. Her posture was stiff, defensive. "I want to talk," she said flatly. I opened the door, but didn't step aside. She looked past me, into the living room. "I came without Ethan." I noticed. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I want you to drop the lien." I laughed. "Of course you do." Her jaw clenched. "You're punishing him for choosing me." "I'm holding him accountable," I corrected. She stepped closer. "He's depressed. He barely eats. He's not working. Monroe cries for him every night." "Good," I said. "Maybe now he knows how it feels." She pulled off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red. "You're not the only one he's let down." There was a pause. A long one. Then she added more softly, "Do you really think you'll win? In the end, you might get your money, but you'll lose your son and your granddaughter." I looked her dead in the eye. "Camille, I already did." She left without another word, but the visit stirred something in me. Not regret, no, never that, but clarity. They weren't just selfish, they were small. And I had been acting small too, letting their cruelty shrink me into someone who mistook survival for revenge. So I sat down that night and wrote Ethan a letter, not to fix things, not to plead, just to speak. "Ethan, I raised you to keep your word. You broke it. I gave you the best parts of me, my savings, my support, my trust. You spent it all and never said thank you. But I still believe you can be better. Not for me, for her, for Monroe. This debt will follow you until it's repaid. That's justice. But my door is still open. That's love. Your mother." I don't know if he read it. He never replied. But 3 weeks later, I got a Venmo payment from him, $750. Then another, the next month. $1,000, small steps, but steps nonetheless. Then came the surprise, on a Sunday afternoon in late September. I heard a knock at the door. I opened it slowly. There, standing on the porch, was Monroe, holding Ethan's hand. She wore a yellow raincoat, even though it wasn't raining. Monroe, 2 little pigtails, soft curls escaping in wisps at her temples, and Velcro shoes with tiny strawberries on the toes. She gripped a stuffed elephant in one hand, and Ethan's hand in the other. I froze. I didn't even look at Ethan at first. I just stared at her, trying to memorize the curve of her cheek, the faint milk stain on her collar, the soft click of her plastic toy dragging on the porch step. She looked up at me. "Hi," she said shyly. Her voice was smaller than I expected, like the whisper of something I thought I'd lost. I bent down slowly. "Hi, sweetheart." Ethan cleared his throat behind her. "We were at the park. She asked if we could visit." I raised an eyebrow. "She asked?" He smiled faintly. I may have nudged the topic. I stood and met his eyes. He looked tired, not defeated, not angry, just real, human, like the boy I raised, older now, a little broken, maybe finally honest. "She talks about you," he said. "I show her pictures sometimes, ones from before." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Before Camille's campaign to erase me, before the lawsuit, before the silence. I stepped aside and opened the door. "You both hungry?" The 3 of us sat at the table, eating grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. Monroe dipped her crust into the bowl and giggled when it slid in. "She's so tall," I said softly. Ethan nodded. "Camille's mom says she takes after their side." I gave him a look. He smirked, "But I know better." He helped her with her juice box and patted her back when she coughed. He was a good father, not a perfect one, but no one is. And for the first time in months, I saw him not as a disappointment, but as someone who had made mistakes and was trying, truly trying, to correct them. "Camille doesn't know we're here," he said, his voice low. I figured. "She's not doing well. The pressure, the money, the fallout." I sipped my tea. "And suing your child's grandmother didn't help?" He gave a dry laugh. "You've always had that steel in you." I looked at him and said, "And you forgot you came from it." He went quiet after that. We didn't talk about money, or court, or the lien, none of it. But before they left, as he strapped Monroe into her car seat, Ethan said, "The payments will keep coming, every month, no more delays." I nodded. Then he looked back at me and added, "And one day, I'll pay it all, in full." I didn't respond right away. I just looked at my granddaughter, now humming to herself in the back seat, oblivious to the war her parents had waged around her. "You'll pay," I said finally, "but not with checks." He raised an eyebrow. "You'll pay with consistency, with showing up, with respect. That's the real debt." He nodded. No argument this time, just acceptance. Weeks passed. Monroe started visiting on Sunday afternoons, at first just with Ethan, then sometimes alone. Camille allowed it, reluctantly, as long as it didn't interfere with her schedule. We never spoke. I didn't press. I didn't need to. The power shifted when I stopped begging for scraps. One afternoon, Monroe ran into my arms, holding a crumpled drawing of stick figures, one tall, one small, and in shaky blue letters above them, the word Grammy. I cried in the pantry so she wouldn't see. By spring, Ethan had secured a new job. Not in tech this time, but managing inventory at a warehouse just outside Mountain View. "It's boring," he told me, "but honest, and it keeps the lights on." He moved out of the Palo Alto townhouse and into a modest rental in Redwood City, less glamorous, more real. And the payments continued. $1,000, $200, $950, never late. He once texted me a screenshot of his ban, balance after rent, groceries, and my installment went through $71.43. I replied with a single line, "You're learning." He sent back a heart. It was the first one in over a year. I know what you're thinking. Did we reconcile? Did Camille ever apologize? No, she didn't. But I stopped needing her apology. Sometimes justice isn't about everyone falling to their knees. Sometimes it's about the quiet, steady climb of someone remembering where they came from and who got them there. Ethan remembered, and so did Monroe. This summer, on her 3rd birthday, she asked for a Grammy Day. Just me and her. We went to the zoo. She wore a pink dress and I packed peanut butter sandwiches. She fell asleep in the car on the way home, clutching that same elephant from the first day she came back to me. As I carried her inside, Ethan held the door and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." I paused, kissed her forehead, and whispered back, "Next time, don't make me work so hard for it." He smiled. I never got the $140,000 back in full. Not yet, but I got something better. I got my son back, I got my granddaughter, and I got myself, bitter, proud, and unshakable. They thought they could write me out, but this is still my story, and I decide how it ends.